a sudden their choices of dress become something that they're curious and they actively participate. Now, if you have been following any of the posts that the Calcine has been posting, so you see Matan, for example, has very interesting taste and choice in some clothing. Now, I was particularly...
It's a sister.
Now, I was particularly moved by this particular observation that Yasmin had, where on the one hand she was concerned about the feminine choice, but as soon as he picked out the sword and he was being very boyish about that, this is something that made Yasmin very comfortable and Freud proud. So it's really at this point that he starts taking an active participation, curiosity, and understanding of what is going to be going on in his life. So the way the upsherin, the third birthday, is observed is by literally observing his exterior, if you will, uniform. Now that he's becoming a Jewish boy, now that he's becoming an active participant in his Jewishness as a young Jewish boy, so he looks at his day-to-day costume. There's so many mitzvahs that he can do throughout, from birth until now. In fact, there's going to be things that he's going to say as prayers that he already knows. But it's now the costume, the uniform that he wears, the kippah, the tzitzis, and the peyot, the side blocks, that now become evident. So let's start with the peyot, for example. When we cut the hair, it's ironic that the focus that we're doing today is not by what we are cutting, but it's precisely by what we're not cutting. By cutting his hair and leaving the peyot, the side curls, which is a mitzvah, a biblical command of the Torah, that is what the upsherin is. So we remove the hair, but we leave the side curls. Now, together with the peyot, we also have the kippah. So we have, which one do you want to use? So we have the kippah here. Can I crown the king? How does that feel? Feel good? So a kippah, why does a Jewish boy wear a kippah? Because the word yarmulke in Hebrew, in Yiddish actually, or kippah in Hebrew means a covering. But the word yarmulke is a combination of two words, yarei malka, which means awe of heaven. It's now that at an age that they become aware that God is above them. So that's what the yarmulke is about. And then there is the mitzvah of tzitzit, which we're going to do a little bit later as well, as a special blessing that is going to make, and we'll explain when we do that why it's significant as part of the costume or the uniform that he wears. So what we're simply going to do is really do a ceremony of first the parental blessing, and then we're going to go through the mitzvah of the tzitzit, and then the cutting, which in Matan's case, like I said, it's more about which about removing the hair and leaving the peyot. So Matan's case, together with Sivan, they're donating their hair to Locks of Love. So we're going to have several people who are going to cut the hair, but most of his hair is going to be donated to Locks of Love. So let's begin with the parental blessing. Let's have Matan sit on a chair. And Mom and Dad. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Here's like a Sivan, you stole my camera. You took my camera.
See? Where is it? It's right there. Now, as I mentioned before, the mitzvah of tzitzit is unique. The actual command of the tzitzis is, there's no mitzvah in the Torah that somebody has to wear tzitzis. The mitzvah of the Torah is that if somebody wears a four-cornered garment, then the four-cornered garment requires tzitzit. Now, typically, your clothing does not have four corners. Most of your clothes don't have four corners. So, in most cases, it doesn't apply. Because if you're not wearing an item with 4 corners, you don't put on tzitzit. But because tzitzit is such a beautiful mitzvah, in it that if you count the strings, as well as the knots, and the numerical value called gematria, it will equal 613. So the tzitzit become a reminder of the 613 commandments. Now look at it like this. If you want to remember something and you write a post-it note, and there are 613 commandments to remember, this is a lot easier to wear than 613 post-it notes. So therefore, the tzitzit can take several forms. Many of you come into a synagogue, into a shul, people put on a talit. A talit is a big 4-cornered garment. And because it's a 4-cornered garment, it has tzitzit. There are the other type is called a talit katan, a tiny talis, or a small talis, which this is what this is, and this is what is sometimes worn, like I said, in synagogue only once in a while, or some people put it on all day, or you could just put it on simply for the mitzvah. So let's put this on Matan, and we're going to make 2 blessings, one for the mitzvah of tzitzit, and also for Shehechei Yanu. You ready, Matan?
Look right.
There we go. Let's get this up. Oh, let's take that. Okay. So we're going to make a bracha. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam Asher Kiddushan B'mitzvosav V'tzivanu Al Mitzvahs Tzitzis. Give it a kiss. Give the tzitzis a kiss. There you go. Because it is also a new garment, and because it's also a beautiful new moment, so I'd like to ask Mom and Dad to please come up and say the bracha of Shehechei Yanu along with Matan David. Okay, so let's say this all together. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam Shehecheyanu V'kiyemanu V'higiyanu L'zman Hazeh. Now, in addition to all the wonderful things that we're doing today, it's also important to emphasize the importance of Matan David's Hebrew name. And if you looked at the beautiful paper that is being prepared, it has an explanation of the connection of the Hebrew name. So it's important that when we do something on a life cycle event that we refer to him with his Hebrew name, as well as it being done on his Hebrew birthday. That's why we're doing it in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. Because exactly 3 years ago today, on the Hebrew calendar, the 19th of Tammuz, is when Matan David was born. So this is actually his real Hebrew birthday. Which also means that in just 10 years from today, is his bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Start saving up right now.
Okay, so before we cut his hair, what we're going to do is, because, like we said before, it's the emphasis of the beginning of his formal education, so we're going to hear Matan and teach him the Aleph Bet, as well as hear him say some of the prayers like the Shema. We'll do the Aleph Bet first. First, you know, let him, he's not going to, let him read it first, and then we'll put it on.
Exactly.
So, of course, the Aleph Bet is the basis of which all Jewish learning is based on. So we start with the Aleph Bet. So Matan is already in practice for this for quite a while. So he's going to read the ones that he knows, and then we'll teach him the rest as well. Ready? Not only is he learning the alphabet, he can keep the alphabet. And just like when you see sometimes when a chatan is called up to the Torah for a bar mitzvah, for a wedding, we shower him or her with candy. So we're going to do it in a different way, where we're going to take some of the letters and we're going to cover it with sweet whipped cream. And then he's going to associate the reading of the Hebrew with the sweetness. Now, can you figure out what letter is under there? Let's lick it and find out what letter is under there. What letter is that, Matan? Exactly. Tet. You found the tet. Good. Is it yummy? Is it yummy? What letter is that? Well, it's blocking, so if you take out the whole one, what is that letter? Let's do one more. What other letter do you want to do? That's good. That, okay. Let's order that one. What is that one? Recognize this letter? Very good. Good job. I know you want to do all of it. Now Matan is going to show off one of the prayers that he knows. We're going to do the Shema. That is absolutely beautiful. Wow. So now that he did the alphabet and he did some of the prayers, so we're going to do the cutting of the hair. Now, anybody who's called up to cut the hair, we're also going to associate with another mitzvah, the mitzvah of giving tzedakah, giving charity. So simultaneous to your doing of the cutting, you will do the mitzvah of tzedakah as well. Now,
that's the way to do it, Mom.
No. Why, I waste your time.
Right?
I'd like to ask Saba to please come up. And because Saba is a Kohen, and the tradition is that the first piece of hair typically would go to a Kohen, so being that it's in the family, we're lucky that you're going to do the first cut, and before that you'll do the priestly blessing.
He likes to do the priestly blessing.
Come stand. You want to come stand next to your dad and do it?
No, he likes to do it.
Yeah, I can do it with me.
I got the picture.
Amen.
You're right. You're Aaron and Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I'm going to cut number 2. Would you like to take a picture of me doing the second cut? Are you sure you don't mind? Thank you.
Okay, let's get the cameras ready. This is a very significant cut.
First cut and the second cut.
He's doing great. Perfect. I was doing perfect. Sure, that's great. I was doing a wonderful job. I know.
Hey, Lori, can you get it on myself? Give me, just get the 1 and 2 on.